Hey there, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitars Root to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play In Too Deep by Sum 41. I'm going to teach you all the guitar parts for this song. In this lesson, I'm using the Fender HSS Strat from their new Standard series, which are their most affordable guitars, but they still provide excellent value and sound great. This is the candy color finish, which looks absolutely stunning. If you want to master your chords back to front, then be sure to head over to guitarsroottohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. Or if you're fairly new to guitar and you're looking to build a strong, solid foundation, but you don't know where to start, then be sure to check out Guitars Root to Hero Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course and membership. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Let's jump into the lesson. Let's start with guitar number 1, which I consider sort of to be the lead guitar. Let's start with the intro. There's 4 lines of tab here, but we only really need to learn 2 bars of music, and that's repeated through twice. In terms of guitar tone, I'm just using a clean amp channel and I've got a tiny bit of reverb, so pretty basic. So for this riff, we're going to take our middle finger, put it on the 7th fret of the 5th string. We're going to pluck the open 6th and then the 5th string, and then quickly mute. So we're going to put our palm onto the strings so that nothing else rings out after that second note, like that. The other thing we need to do with these notes is actually palm mute them as well. So we take the fleshy bit of our palm, rest them lightly on the edge of the bridge, so you get that really subtle palm muted sound. For the next little lick, we're going to hit the same 2 notes, but then have our index finger on the 6th fret of the 4th string and quickly pluck that with an upstroke. So down, down, up. And then middle finger onto the 7th fret of the 4th string, up to the 9th, and back down to the 7th. So that whole run. And again. Now you can use whatever picking direction you'd like, but I have my suggested picking direction below in the tab. And in total, this bar, for the second bar, we have a pause and we don't play anything until the end beat after the 1. So there's a pause and then we're going to hit the open 5th string with a down, up, down. And that's 1 knee and 2. And then hit the open 5th string one more time. 6th fret of the 5th string, 7th, 9th, and then up to 6th. And the riff in total. And again with the pause. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For the intro, those 2 bars are repeated twice and in total. That's it for the intro. Now the verse is identical to the intro, so nothing new to learn there. Next we get to the pre-chorus, and the first 3 bars of the pre-chorus are identical to the intro and the verse. The only thing that changes is that in the final bar, instead of playing the second half of the lick, we then go to an A power chord. You can play an A power chord down in this open position, or you can play it here. I'm showing it here on the tab. So index finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string, ring and pinky on the 7th frets of the 5th and 4th string. Now with the power chord, we're going to be using a lot of these throughout the song. It's important to ensure that the higher strings are muted, and I do that by lightly resting my index finger across all of the strings, but only applying pressure onto the root note. So you'll see how my index finger touches everything else, but only pushes down on that root. And that way, the higher strings will always be muted, and only the notes that you want to ring out will be ringing out. So we're going to strum that with all down strums, and we're going to build it up to the chorus. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the pre-chorus in total. Now in the chorus, we're going to change our guitar tone. We're going to switch to something with a lot more drive. So on my katana, I'm using the brown amp channel, which is a very high gain amp with a lot of natural distortion. So there's 3 lines of tab in this chorus. We're going to start with an E5 power chord. Now I'm going to play this with my index and middle finger on the 2nd frets of the 5th and 4th string. Now again, you want the higher strings to be muted, and I do that again by lightly resting my index finger across these strings so that they're muted, but only pushing down on that 2nd fret of the 5th string. So we're going to strum this with a down, down, up. And that's a quick up strum before we head to the A5 power chord. And from the E5, I just pivot around my middle finger and put my ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And I just focus on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings. Now you don't want your 6th string ringing out, so to mute that, I use my thumb to lightly touch that 6th string. So that way, when we strum it, only the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings are ringing out. And for the A5 power chord, we're just strumming down, 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 down. So down, down. And we do that 3 times. For the 4th bar, we just hit our A chord with 2 down strums, 3 and mute on the 4 beat. So the final bar, mute. So the first line of tab in total. The second line of tab is just the first 3 bars of the first line of tab, so nothing new to learn there. And then for the third line of tab, we're going to play our E5 with a down, 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 up. And then we're going to go to a D5. So index finger on the 5th fret of the 5th string, ring and pinky on the 7th frets of the 4th and 3rd string. Again, we only want these 3 strings ringing out. So to mute the 6th string, what we can do is use the top of our index finger to lightly touch the 6th string. Alternatively, you could use your free middle finger to lightly touch that. And again, our index finger rests across all the higher strings so that they're muted as well. So we're going to strum this with the down, 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 and then to our A5 power chord, which is just on the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings, but in the same position. And we're going to strum this with 4 down strums. And then we're going to lift our fretting hand at this point and just strum a whole bunch of muted strums. So 3 and 4 and just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And the final bar. And the final line of tab. And in total, the chorus. After the first chorus, there's a post-chorus riff, which is a lot of fun to play. We're going to start with our E5 power chord shape, hit that with 2 down strums, and then we're going to slide up to an E octave. So the E octave is here on the 7th fret of the 5th string and the 9th fret of the 3rd string with your pinky. We only want those 2 strings ringing out. So the notes that you're muting are just as important as the notes that need ringing out. So we can mute the 6th string by lightly touching it at the top with our index finger. All the strings below that 5th string will be muted by your index finger as well, lightly resting across them. And then your pinky finger can simply come and play that 9th fret of the 3rd string, and it's all good. So that's the octave that occurs on the 2 beat, but we actually slide into that. So you can play this octave shape sort of anywhere, and as you hit it, slide into place. Now, if you're looking a place to definitively start your slide, you can just do it from 5th and 7th. But it can be from anywhere really, because that slide is so fast, it's going to be barely perceptible where you actually started that slide. So after that slide, we'll do a quick upstroke, and now that can be just muted strings as you move to the next position, which is an A5 power chord. But we're going to just play that with our index finger on the root and pinky finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string. Again, we want everything else below those 2 notes to be muted. You can do that with your index finger. We're going to hit this with 2 down strums, and then shift your index finger down 1 fret to the 4th fret, and then back up to the 5th fret. So 3, and the bar in total. For the third bar, it's basically the same as the first and second bar, except instead of this E octave, we're going to slide up to a G sharp octave, which is at 11th and 13th frets. And that will sound like this. Now for the fourth bar, we start off the same way with that G sharp octave, but the power chords we hit at the end are going to be different. So we're going to play the A5 power chord, then down to G sharp, so just shift it down 1 fret, and then F sharp, and back up to G sharp. So the last 4 chords. And the final bar. Next we get to verse number 2, 2 lines of tab here, but it's just 1 line of tab essentially repeated through twice. So we're going to start off with our E5 power chord, strum this with 2 downstrokes and then mute. So 1, 2, and 3, and on the 4 beat, we go to a G sharp power chord like this, and we're going to use our ring and pinky fingers for the 5th and 4th string. We're going to hit this on the 4 beat, and for the second bar, we go up to the A5 power chord, so just shift up 1 fret. We're going to play 2 down strums at the start and mute on the 2 beat. 1, 2, and 3, and again on the 4 beat, we'll strum another power chord. In this case, we're just going to strum the A5 again 1 more time. So the first 2 bars, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 2, and 3, and 4. The third bar is the same as the first bar, and for the fourth bar, we start off with that A5 with 2 downstrokes, 1 and 2. So on the 2, there's a rest, and on the end beat after 2, we go down to the G sharp, back up to the A5 with 2 downstrokes, a mute on the 4 beat, and then on the end beat after 4, back to the A5. So 1, 2, and 3, 4. So on the 2 and the 4 beat is where we're going to mute with our palm. And in total, for this first line of tab, now I'm just going to play it through once, but you play it through twice in the actual verse. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. Next we get to pre-chorus 2, which is really simple. It's just our E5 to our A5. It's going to be all downstrokes. For the first down strum though, we'll be strumming it normally, so with the E5. And then for the rest of that bar, it's going to be palm muted. So again, take the fleshy bit of your palm, rest it lightly on the edge of the bridge, and you get that nice chunky palm muted sound. Too far in, nothing's going to ring out. So it needs to be right on the edge of the bridge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, for that first down strum, no palm muting. So hit it open, and then drop your palm on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same with the A5. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And third bar is the same as the first bar. And for the fourth bar, when we go back to the A5, we're going to start off palm muted and then slowly open up. So 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So pre-chorus number 2. 1. Okay, next we get to chorus number 2. Now, pre-chorus number 2 for this first guitar has 4 lines of tab. The first 2 lines are the same as chorus 1, so nothing new to learn there. For the third line of tab, we're going to start off with our E5, go to our D5, and then A5. With this A5 though, we're just going to play 2 lots of down, 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 down. So the first 2 bars. And that's repeated again through for the third and fourth bars. So that's fairly simple. Then for this fourth line of tab, we're just going to focus on hitting the open 6th string. Now keep your index finger here above the 7th fret and with the pad of your finger ready to fret onto the 7th fret of the 5th string. But for the time being, just have it rested there. So all those strings, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. We're going to play a down, up, down, up on that open 6th string. So down, up, down. And then on the 2 beat, we'll play our E octave. So we already have our index finger in place. We just need to push it down now and involve our pinky finger. So 1, 2, and then we're going to pick it back up with an up strum and repeat that same octave. And we finally end this bar with another upstroke on the open string. So the first bar. The second bar starts off the same way. And then we end with the up, down, and mute. So the fourth line of tab. That's chorus number 2. Now I'll just play through the third and the fourth line of tab because the first and the second are identical to chorus number 1, so I don't think I really need to cover that again. Okay, so now we get to the guitar solo, which is short but sweet and a lot of fun. There's some tapping involved. If this solo is too difficult for you, then you can play the rhythm parts, which I'll teach later in this lesson. So for this solo, we need to get our index finger into place on the 4th fret of the 1st string. We'll move our picking hand now up to the 5th fret of the 1st string, and there's going to be some tapping involved. Now, I like using my middle finger. Some people like using their index. It's completely up to you. But I like using my middle because I can still hold onto the pick whilst I do this. So I'm going to tap onto the 5th fret of the 1st string. It's basically a hammer-on. You're applying force and pressure into the fretboard, and that will make that note ring out. So tap, and then pull off. As you tap, to pull off, you flick in a downwards direction. And then, at this next point, you pull off your index finger as well. Again, in a downwards direction. You don't just lift your finger because then you won't get that 3rd note. So tap, pull off, pull off. Practice that slowly. And then try to build up speed. You're going to need to do that twice for this solo. And then we move up to our next position, which is tapping on the 7th fret and index on the 5th fret. And we play that twice. Now, one tip here to ensure that all these strings don't ring out, you can kind of rest your palm onto the strings as you're tapping. And that will mean these strings can't just ring out freely because they'll be muted by your palm. And that way you can use your finger to just tap, and it acts as a pivot point essentially. So the first half of this bar. For the second half of this bar, you're just going to take your index finger and immediately hammer it on to the 4th fret of the 2nd string. Now if you hammer it on with enough force on an electric guitar with the right amount of gain, you'll just get that note to ring out. Like that, you don't even have to pluck it. Now after that note, we're going to hammer on to the 5th fret, pull off, hammer on to the 5th fret, and then slide up to the 7th. Like that. After sliding up to that 7th fret, at the very end, we'll pull off to the open string. So that's it for the first bar, which sounds like this. Now for the second bar, it's going to be a whole bunch of hammer-ons and pull-offs just with our fretting finger. We don't need to do anything with our picking hand. We're going to hammer on and hit the 9th fret of the 2nd string with our middle finger and pull off. So, and do the same with the 10th, 12th, back to 10th, 9th, 7th, 9th, 10th. We're just going up, back down, and then back up. So. And that's all done with the fretting hand. These sort of techniques take a lot of practice and patience. Just work on them slowly and then build your way up. So the first line of tab in total. Now the second line of tab is almost identical, except for the second bar. When we get down to our 7th fret, pull off, we then go to the 9th fret on the 4th beat, and we're going to hit this and bend up a half tone, and then release it back down to 9th. So that final bar. And that is everything for our solo, which sounds like this. Next we get to the bridge, which is pretty simple for guitar 1. There's nothing really being played for this first line of tab. At the very end though, on the 4 beat, we're just going to slide out like that. You can hit anywhere on these heavier strings and slide out. And then for the second line of tab, on the 2 and the 4 beat, we're going to constantly be sliding up to the 11th and 13th fret octave. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and just again and again for 3 bars. For the 4th bar, on the 3 beat, we're going to do muted strums at 16th notes. So 3 again, 4 again. So that's fairly straightforward. It's just a whole lot of slides up to the octave on the 2 and the 4 beat. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4 again. Next we get to chorus number 3. Now chorus 3 does differ to chorus 1 and 2. For the first line of tab, we're basically playing post-chorus number 1, except that we're always sliding up to the E octave here. Whereas in the post-chorus, we would slide up to the G sharp octave for the 3rd and the 4th bar. For the second line of tab though, we're going to continue on with that post-chorus riff. So the first 3 bars are the first line of tab, but we're going to change to the G sharp octave slide. So I'm going to do that 3 times. For the third line of tab, the first 2 bars are the same as the first 2 bars in chorus number 2 in that same third line of tab. But then we're going to go up to this E, 7th fret of the 5th string, ring and pinky on the 9th frets of the 4th and 3rd. Play that with a down, 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 then down to the D5, then A5, and then C5. So that's here on 3rd and 5th frets with the root note on the 5th string. And the 3rd and 4th bar in total. Now for the outro of this song, we have a lead lick. By our index finger across the 9th frets of the 3rd and 2nd string. And we're going to play double stops here. So what that means is we're going to strike 2 strings at the same time, the 3rd and the 2nd. Then with our middle finger, go 10th fret of the 2nd string, hit these 2 strings, hit the same 2 strings. Lift our middle finger and hit the original position, back to this 10th fret position. So the first half. And then for the 3rd beat, we take our pinky finger, go up to the 12th fret of the 2nd string. Lift our pinky finger back to the 10th fret on the 2nd string, original position, and back to 10th fret. So second half. And the first bar. For the second bar, the first half is the same as the first half in the first bar. And for the second half, we go back to original position, and then with our ring finger, bar across the 11th frets of the 4th and 3rd, and then down to 9th frets of the 4th and 3rd. And back up to the 11th fret position. So the second half. And that second bar. And that whole riff in total. That riff is basically repeated through 9 times, and we end the song by hitting that 9th fret position on the 4th and 3rd strings. Those are all the guitar parts for guitar number 1. Okay, we move on to guitar number 2. Now, let's start with the intro. We have our clean amp tone. Now, for this first riff, I'm going to bar my ring finger across the 9th frets of the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, like that. But you could use your index finger as well, but I like using my ring finger because it gives me more access to these lower frets that we'll need. We're going to hit this 9th fret of the 4th string on the end beat after 1 with a down, up, down. So 1 and 2. After that, we'll hit the 4th string, 3rd string with an upstroke, back to 4th string with a downstroke, upstroke on the 2nd string, and end with another downstroke. And those 5 notes. Now again, we will be palm muting, so you can use your palm to rest lightly on the bridge. And all together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Second bar, again, we are not playing anything on the 1 beat. We're going to wait until the end beat, and we're going to pluck the 9th fret of the 4th string again with a down, up, down. And then we're going to hit 9th fret one more time on the end beat after the 2, down to 7th, down to 6th, back up to 7th, and then 9th. So the last 5 plucks. And in total, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... The third bar is identical to the first bar, and for the fourth bar, our 5-note run just differs a little bit. So we'll go 9th fret of the 4th string, 7th, 6th, then 9th fret of the 5th, and end on 7th fret of the 5th. So the final bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the intro riff in total for guitar 2. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and... That's it for the intro, which is the same as verse number 1, so nothing new to learn there. For the pre-chorus, we're going to play some triad shapes. So the first one is an E triad. Now it's the same as a D chord shape, but moved up 2 frets. And so that's why we call it an E triad, because we have D here, D sharp, E. We're going to strike this on the 2 beat, the end beat after 3, and the end beat after 4. And in between, we'll just drop our hand onto the strings so that it doesn't ring out. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we go up to this A triad, which is just the bottom portion of an A bar chord. We're going to play it with the same rhythm. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Back to our E triad, and that's the same as the first bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we go to our A power chord. So I'm just going to use my middle and ring finger on the 2nd frets of the 4th and 3rd string. And we're going to strum this at 8th notes with all down strums and build up to the chorus. And that's it for the pre-chorus, which sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. Next we get to chorus 1, so we're changing to our heavy distorted tone. And everything here is identical to what guitar number 1 is playing. I've already covered that in an earlier part of the lesson, so refer back to that if you want a refresher. Now the post-chorus after chorus 1 is the same as guitar number 1, but the whole time we're sliding up to the E octave. We don't go up to this G sharp octave like I taught you for guitar 1. So post-chorus 1 for guitar 2. Verse 2 and pre-chorus 2 are identical to guitar number 1, so nothing new to learn there. Now chorus 2 is almost identical to what I've shown in guitar 1, but just at the very end, after the final 2 open 6th strings, we're then going to end with 6 muted strums. So I'll just play the final line of tab. Alright, so for guitar number 2, during the solo, this is what's being played. Just a whole bunch of power chords. We'll start with our E5 power chord, and we're just going to strum this with a down, 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 and then quickly mute it after. So, down. Then F sharp. That's the first bar of music. For the second bar, we go up to this D5 power chord with the same strumming pattern. Down, up, down, down. Then A power chord. But we hold on to it, we don't mute after that final downstroke, and then we go to an E/G sharp. So from this A, keep your ring finger where it is, slide your index finger down 1 fret, and then middle finger comes onto the 6th fret of the 4th string in the second bar. The 3rd and the 4th bar are identical to the 1st and the 2nd, so that's it for the solo section, which sounds like this for guitar 2. Next we get to the bridge. There's more power chords here. So we're going to start with our E5 power chord with 2 downstrokes and then a mute. So 1, 2, and. So we're going to continuously be muting on the 2 and the 4 beat. So 1 and 2 and, then go to F sharp, same rhythm, 3 and 4 and, then A5, 1 and 2 and then B5, up 2 more frets, 3 and 4 and. That's it for the first 2 bars, which is repeated through for 3rd and 4th bars. So 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 2 and 3, 4 and 2 and 3, 4 and. For the second line of tab, it's identical, but we're going to be adding in octave slides on the 2 and the 4 beat instead of muting. So that octave slide is to the E. So. And that's just played again and again. For the third line of tab, we continue on with that. But for the 4th bar, when we get to our A, we're just going to hit it. And then on the 3rd beat, just play some muted strums. 3 and 4 and. And that's it. So I'll play the 3rd line of tab. Okay, next we get to chorus number 3. Chorus number 3, we're playing the post-chorus riff for the first line of tab. For the second line of tabs, basically that post-chorus riff, we just cut out that final bar. And for the third line of tab, we're playing our E5, D5, A5 twice, and then up to E5 power chord here, D5, A5, and C5. So the final line of tab. That's played through twice, and then we get to our outro. The outro is essentially E5, D5, A5, and our C5. Repeated again through 5 times, and then we end the song with an E5, and that's it for guitar number 2. If you want to see it all in context, then go to the playthrough at the end of this lesson. So now I'll be doing 2 playthroughs of the song, and I'll have a vocal track on top for some context. Feel free to play these back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go.
Maybe we're just trying too hard.
Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here. Or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitar0tohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.